Welcome to ePathshala. I am R. Indira, formerly Professor of Sociology at the University of Mysore and course coordinator for the paper Education and Society, which is a part of the Sociology course. In this module, I will take you through the different aspects of education, basically from a sociological perspective, and introduce you very briefly to the contents of the modules that will form part of this course. Now, education is basically a social institution. It cannot function or be understood and analyzed in a social vacuum. Sociologists of education have looked at education as a social institution which influences society and is in turn influenced by what is happening in society. So in this paper, you will try to understand how the different institutions in society, be it family, school, religion, caste, tribe, to name only a few, impact the way the system of education functions. This course is presented in 35 modules, which are part of 11 units, each dealing with a different facet of education. So education basically has two functions to perform in society. One is its retention aspect and the other is the transformative aspect. Education is expected to sustain and preserve those values which are not influenced by time, because they are important for each new generation that comes into this society. However, education is also expected to initiate changes and prepare the new generations to receive those changes. That is why sociologist Emile Durkheim says that education is methodical socialization of the younger generation. So this course will also motivate you to raise certain questions about education that are generally missing in educational discourses, because we generally look at education as an institution that transforms knowledge in classroom settings only. But that's not true. Education is a sum total of all the experiences which an individual gets in his or her lifetime. And these experiences are not just gained in the classroom, but in different social institutions. So, in the final analysis, this course, which uses the sociological framework to understand education, will motivate you to ask questions, critique existing educational institutions, and also seek answers for many of the problems that educational institution is confronted with. What is education? John Dewey refers to education as the process by which knowledge is transferred to other people through stories, discussions, training, or research. Though learning takes place under the guidance of educators, learners also tend to educate themselves. Education frequently takes place under the guidance of educators, but learners may also educate themselves in a process called autodidactic learning. To Dewey, education is a continuous reconstruction of experiences. Giddens looks at education as a social institution which enables and promotes the acquisition of skills, knowledge, and broadening of personal horizons. Education can take place in many social settings. Meaning and social functions of education. No system of education can function in isolation from the social surroundings in which it exists. One of its fundamental aims is to build a bridge between one generation and another. The primary task of education is to socialize the young to understand the needs, goals, and expectations of the society in which they live. Education is essentially a social system, and education and society are mutually interdependent institutions. Education shares the dynamic character of society and hence acts as the harbinger of change.
However, as the institution entrusted with the responsibility of transforming values that sustain society from one generation to the other, it has also a conservation dimension to its functions. It is in this sense that Durkheim referred to education as the methodical socialization of the young. Parsons, however, was of the view that the central function of education was to instill in pupils the value of individual achievement. This value is crucial to the functioning of industrialized societies, but it could not be learned in the family. A child's status in the family is ascribed, that is fixed from birth. By contrast, a child's status in schools is largely achieved, and in schools children are assessed according to universal standards such as exams. The function of education is to enable children to move from the particularistic standards of the family to the universal standards needed in a modern society. Functionalists see education as a system that serves society by performing several supportive functions which help to maintain order. Conflict thinkers, on the other hand, point out that in a society characterized by social inequalities, education reinforces these inequalities by serving the interests of those in power. Conflict theory sees the purpose of education as maintaining social inequality and preserving the power of those who dominate society. By throwing open opportunities for achieving upward mobility through education to the advantaged sections, education indulges in a kind of sorting. They also refer to a hidden curriculum which actually teaches pupils to passively accept hierarchies and status quo. Conflict theorists see the educational system as perpetuating the status quo by dulling the lower classes into being obedient workers. In their view, education is not a social benefit or opportunity, but a powerful means of maintaining power structures and creating a docile workforce for capitalism. Ottaway contended that one of the primary tasks of education is to hand over the cultural values of a society to its young. Society ensures that its traditional modes of life are conserved through education. However, education also needs to prepare a society for change because new inventions and discoveries lead to creativity and set the stage for innovations. In Ottaway's analysis of the educational institution, one can see a clear recognition of both its preservative and change dimensions. Education must also inculcate in the young a spirit of questioning, a desire to create a new social order and deconstruct many myths that have acted as constraints to social change. It's no doubt true that education must conserve those values which contribute to the sustenance of the social system, but it has to prepare the younger generation to accept as well as initiate social change. The critical importance of the twin functions of conservation and change that the educational institution is entrusted with is evident in the words of Shaw when he said, "The educational system of any society is related to the total system of that society. Whether it prepares the new generations for status quo or for change depends upon the need and goals of the society concerned." In a modernizing society, the education system has two main functions. One, transmission of cultural heritage to new generations. Two, enabling the new generations to develop a degree of adjustability to change in the society. The cultural heritage of any society can be said to be the aims and goals it cherishes as a group at a particular point of time, the values and attitudes it considers desirable, and the skills and knowledge it needs for the achievement of the goals. Sociology of education. Though the emergence of sociology of education as a specialized branch of sociology is of more recent origin, its beginnings can be traced to the relation between education and society as enunciated by Emile Durkheim in early 20th century. His approach to education was functional in nature, as he maintained that the primary function of education is the maintenance of social order. Later theoretical approaches looked at the goals and functions of education from different points of view. But the essence of all these theories is that education is primarily a social institution which both impacts and is impacted by social factors. Sociology of education is that branch of sociology which studies, explains, and critically interprets the different facets of the relationship between education and society. It analyzes the process of education from a sociological perspective. It is the application of sociological theories, perspectives, and research methods to an analysis of educational processes and practices. Broadly speaking, sociology of education or educational sociology, the two words are used interchangeably in many writings, is interested in the study of educational system in relation to the social system. Sociologists of education argue that educational processes and practices are influenced by social phenomena. Education is not just about knowledge acquisition. It's the social setup that basically decides who gets what type of education. Also, social conditions, societal needs, and society's power structures determine the educational content and the nature of pedagogical practices. Since most societies use education as a mechanism for retention of their dominant cultural points of view, they try to control the institutions and individuals who are engaged in the process of knowledge creation and knowledge transfer. Sociology of education is interested in the power distribution in the larger community outside the school as far as the educational system is concerned. It is interested in the power structure within the school system also. Perspective of the course. This module, which is also the introductory module in the Society and Education course, provides a comprehensive view of the many facets of education as a social institution. The course content is divided into 11 units, and each unit contains a certain number of modules ranging between 1 and 10. In the process of making you understand the social context in which education functions, this course takes you through some select theoretical perspectives on education, is expounded by both Western and Indian thinkers, besides introducing you to the ways by which major social institutions function in society. The second unit of the paper, Sociological Perspectives on Education, contains 3 modules that provide a theoretical perspective on the role of education in society. Since the emergence of the study of the field of education from a sociological dimension, sociologists have been discussing the relation between education and society. In this background, the thoughts of Durkheim, Marx, and Weber on education have been analyzed. It's not, however, to be interpreted that only in the writings of these 3 thinkers you can get a total picture of all the angles from which education can be understood from a sociological perspective, but since they reflect 2 dominant schools of thought, functional and conflict, it's possible for us to review and revisit other sociological theories on education. The section on modernity and education contains 2 modules that try to place education in a social historical context in the Indian setting. These 2 modules focus attention on the colonial period and the developments that took place in the field of education during the nationalist movement and the way the movement responded to these developments. In the introductory part of the module, I mentioned that all social institutions continuously act as agencies of education. The 4th unit of the course, Education and its Institutions, contains 3 modules that discuss the social context in which educational institutions function. The modules in this unit concentrate on examining the structures and functions of these institutions as agencies of society. While the first module in the 4th unit profiles the school and university both from historical and social perspectives, the other 2 modules focus on curriculum, which is the instrument through which societies try to orient learners to accept the values which structures of governance profess. The 5th unit, titled Education and Economic Development, has 5 modules which basically focus on the history of education in India and the changes that the introduction of modern education brought about in the economic life of the country. While the first module in the section concentrates on the stages through which educational policy passed in India, The second and third modules trace the growth of education in India from a historical perspective. The constitutional commitment to establishment of an egalitarian social order laid the foundation for introducing educational reforms that were aimed at reducing inequalities characteristic of a severely stratified society. The impact of economic liberalization regime on India's education system is also discussed in these modules. Education is basically seen as a lever of social transformation and development. The fourth module in Unit 5, however, reminds us that in spite of the expansion that has taken place in educational opportunities, the education system reinforces existing socio-economic inequalities. In practice, divisions based on caste, class, and gender continue to deprive vulnerable groups from utilizing these opportunities. In that sense, the education system only reproduces social inequalities and lends itself to power structures that control society's economy and polity. The fifth module in this unit analyzes the mutually interdependent relationship between education and labor. This module finds a place in a discussion on education and economic development because opportunities for upward social mobility open up only when education leads to productive economic activity. Unit 6, titled The Political Economy of Education, Structures and Discourses, contains 5 modules that engage in a critical discussion of how established dogmas and practices confer educational privileges on some groups and deprive others from scaling up the social ladder. All the 5 modules in this unit argue that in reality, education is not a level playing field that is often made it out to be, but a divisive mechanism that is deeply influenced by the divisions and deprivations that already exist in society. This module provides a framework for understanding, analyzing, and interpreting the themes discussed in the other 4 modules presented in the unit. Educational opportunity is closely affected by issues of caste and gender, as discussed by the second and third modules in this unit. In spite of equal access provided by the Constitution, caste-based discrimination continues to exclude many groups from utilizing these opportunities equally. Caste-based inequality and discrimination continue to affect educational aspirations, opportunity, and achievement. Though there is a feeling that reservation of seats in educational institutions has been able to break through caste barriers, those deprived of social capital and financial assets are not in a position to use these reservation-based admission options. The module on caste and educational discourse discusses the various ways in which caste continues to play a decisive role in the field of education, besides analyzing the reservation policy in a historical perspective. The module titled Gender and Educational Discourse examines how gender continues to play its part in determining educational access. In theory, men and women are equal, but in reality, women and girl children face several hurdles in pursuing educational opportunities. The series of state and civil society interventions that have been initiated since independence to promote a gender-inclusive education system have no doubt made an impact, but patriarchy, which has assumed hegemonic proportions, continues to affect educational opportunities for women. The next 2 modules engage in a discussion of the educational situations of tribal and minority groups. The 4th module in the Unit 6 examines the educational status of tribal children and analyzes the role of different state-initiated support programs aimed at enhancing their enrollment and retention. The module on minorities and educational discourse discusses the educational scenario of minority groups in the country with special reference to religious minorities. The 7th unit, titled Cultural Diversity and Education, contains 3 modules that basically try to bring out the need for the education system to keep abreast of changes taking place in the world at large, while at the same time protecting those elements of indigenous modes of knowledge transfer which have contemporary relevance. Unit number 8, Human Rights Discourse and Education in India, analyzes the need to incorporate the human rights perspective in education. Though the Constitution and more recently the Right to Education Act have laid down very clearly that education is an inalienable right, in reality not all children in the country have the opportunity to access educational opportunities. It's only when education is seen as a human right that the barriers to equal utilization of educational opportunities are removed. It's also equally important that both curriculum and pedagogy must instill in the learners a respect for human rights. Education is not just about knowledge acquisition, its fundamental objective is also to ensure that the rights of other human beings are respected. By providing a conceptual understanding of human rights, this module engages in a discussion on the relevance of human rights education. The 9th unit, titled Educational Thinkers, which contains 10 modules, analyzes the perspectives and visions of both Indian and Western thinkers on how an ideal educational system must be conceived and operated. These include Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule, Gijubai Bareka, Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi, Sri Aurobindo, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Jiddu Krishnamurti, John Dewey, Paulo Freire, and Ivan Illich. 2 points stand out in each of these modules. First, all these thinkers have critiqued the stereotypical notions of education, and second, each of these thinkers has proposed an alternate system of education that questions existing systems of education and sets us thinking about new values and practices. The penultimate model of the course, entitled Undoing Education, Learning, Decolonizing the Mind, discusses the need to free knowledge from prejudices and biases that are symbolic of the colonial legacy. Society can be transformed only when the mind is decolonized. The importance of designing a curriculum incorporating indigenous knowledge systems, local cultures, including native languages, is brought out by the module. The 11th module, titled Critical Pedagogy and Educational Challenge, explains how decolonization of the mind is a fundamental requirement for deconstructing the myths that were created by colonized knowledge. The central point that needs to be understood in the discourse on critical pedagogy is that knowledge is politicized and institutions are oppressed by those who hold the reins of power to toe the line. The proponents of critical pedagogy believe that academic institutions perform their role in just and impartial manner. Such aspects of education as language, learning, hiring of teachers, and the kind of books got for the library are all determined by the agenda of powers that be. This module brings out the need to revisit the entire process of education and raise very fundamental questions about the goals of education itself.
In this module, I have taken you through the different aspects from which education can be understood from a sociological perspective. I hope that this module and the course itself in general is going to motivate you to raise those questions that are not generally asked about education. As I already told you in the introduction, education is generally treated as a very formal setting which consists of classroom, students and teachers only. But often we don't think of the external influences that determine who gets what type of education and to what levels. So these modules that are part of this course, I hope will inspire you to think critically and also look at education from a holistic perspective, because education is not just about degrees and jobs, but it is also about preparing society and the oncoming generations for change. And we also have to realize that the way education is imparted, the way knowledge is created and the way knowledge is transferred, they have all changed, especially during the last 20 years. And so I hope that you students or whoever is learning this course is able to think differently about education. Now the very purpose of this module is that education is something that does not happen in a social vacuum. The interrelationship between education and other institutions and the impact that education has on these institutions and these institutions in turn have on education have to be clearly understood. And also, the modules in this course have raised very critical questions about concepts like equal educational opportunities, universalization of educational opportunities, because it's not just about equal opportunities being provided by law by other agencies, but it is about utilization of these opportunities. So I hope that when you run through these other modules in the course, you will be asking these questions and also coming out with suitable answers.